Hey everyone, this is Alex with News for Kids, and today I'm going to walk you through how to produce a news story from start to finish. You've already watched some videos on Linda, as well as the training material I've produced, so by now you should have a good grasp of basic editing. This video will walk you through downloading and converting raw footage, recording an informal voiceover, adding clips, pictures, and sounds to the timeline, as well as some job-specific edits. Without further ado, let's start with grabbing a clip off Reuters. Once you have found clips on Reuters that support your story, click on the download link. Don't mind whatever format it says it's in, because we're going to change it in just a minute. While that's downloading, we're going to make a place to put the converted footage. So navigate into Finder, click on My Book, and then Converted Footage. Here we're going to make a new folder. The format it should be labeled in is year, month, date, and a general title. In this case, Stradivarius. To convert the video, click on iSkySoft Video Converter, then drag the downloaded file into the window. Before we hit the Convert button, we need to tell it where to put the converted footage. At the bottom of the window, change the destination folder to Other, which will open up Finder again, so now we have to navigate to that new folder we made in converted footage and select it. At the bottom there are some choices for changing the target format, and you'll see here it's currently set to FCPX, which is what we need. While that video is converting, we're going to open up Final Cut Pro and wait for it to load all its files and media. To start a new project, go to File, New, Library, which will open up a save window. Name your project something that's short and concise, preferably spelled correctly, and we're going to save it in Movies. This should create a new library off to the left with a new event with the date. Right-click on that event, then select New Project. Give it another short and sweet title and click OK. This will create a new blank timeline for the project, which we'll eventually fill up with clips and sounds. Once the video from Reuters is done converting, drag it out of the folder you made for it, which is under My Book, Converted Footage, and just drag it into the new project you created. Now we're going into the Master Files library to grab some pre-made clips that we'll use later on. We want to grab the clips labeled N4K Intro, N4K Outro, the What Do You Think Intro, and the What Do You Think Compound. You'll see a pop-up message saying you're editing clips between libraries, but don't panic, just click OK. Now we're going to record an informal audio track to gauge about how long the end video is going to be. Go up to Window, and in the drop-down menu, select Record Audio. This will open up a smaller window with some mic levels. Be sure to check that the input device is your microphone and that the destination is set to your project's event date. When you're ready, hit the Record button and read your script. Once you're done with the informal voiceover, we can start adding the pre-made clips we grabbed earlier to the timeline. The first clip I'm going to grab is the intro clip, the one with the slogan in it. Highlight the whole clip, then just drag it into the timeline. Now we're ready to start adding even more media into the timeline. Our intro clip has a specific music clip tied to it. It is found under the music symbol right under the inspector. Navigate to iLife Sound Effects, then Jingles, and find Highlight Reel Short. Drag it into the timeline just under the intro clip. Because we don't have a Google fly-in just yet, for now we're going to insert a gap clip. Go up to Edit, Insert Generator, Gap Clip. For now, I'm taking the informal voiceover off the timeline as I'm going to chop it into pieces and add it back in, like so. Up in the clip library, I'm going to listen to my informal voiceover and break it up. I will be using the keyboard shortcuts to do this. The I key indicates the start of the piece, and the O key indicates the end of the piece. I'll be using the same procedure for the video clip as well, and when I get a piece I like, I'll drag it into the timeline and break up the informal voiceover accordingly. Sometimes we need to add stills in addition to the video. To find an appropriate image from Google, go to Search Tools when looking for images and change the size to large and usage rights to labeled for reuse. When you find a picture you like, click on it to open it fully, then right-click Save Image to Downloads. When it's done downloading, you can simply drag it over into your library and then add it to the timeline and continue making your newscast. One transition you will use at one point or another is ripple jumps. These are especially useful for when we talk about one country, then switch gears to another. I'll be using the leap effect here. Highlighting this clip opens up the inspector off to the right, where I can tweak this transition to suit my needs. I'll be leaping from New York City to Cremona, Italy. To start, I'm going to change the view from camera to director, which will give me more free rein over where the pins are placed and how big the map is. Once I've got the pins placed and labeled as I want, I'm going to change the map style, which is under the built-in map menu. Since I'm talking about a historical figure, I'll use the old worldy map. To adjust the map size itself, I'm going to use the slider next to map scale and readjust the pins as needed. If desired, I can also change the style of the pin frames under the frame menu. When you're done making the changes you want, make sure to set the view back to camera, otherwise the effect won't work when you review it in the timeline. To change the length of the transition, double-click it to open the precision editor and adjust the length accordingly. It will definitely take some trial and error. Typically, we don't want our still images to just be static, so what we do to a still is click on the crop button just under the viewer. This will give you three options: trim, crop, or Ken Burns. Click on Ken Burns and you should see a green box and a red box appear, both of which are adjustable. The green box is where the effect starts, and the red box is where it ends. Occasionally, we'll add our own charts and graphs, which are located under the Titles menu, and they're called Stupid Raisins Data Pop. A quick once-over will show you that there are a couple different types of graphs and charts to choose from. Picking one will be entirely dependent on the type of information you're displaying. Another effect you will use very frequently is the Keynote effect, which is found in the Bumper Opener section of Titles. Keynote shoves the video or image off to the side so you can make a bulleted list of facts. Bones of our newscasts is the quiz, and building it out is actually pretty painless. It is comprised of two clips, the What Do You Think intro and the What Do You Think compound clips. When you drag them into the timeline, you'll see that editing clips between libraries pop up again. Just click OK. Before you go any further, highlight the What Do You Think compound clip then go up to the clip menu and hit Reference New Parent Clip. To edit the quiz itself, double-click it, which will open up all the separate elements. The text of the question can be edited in the inspector window off to the right. To edit the answers, when the clip with the answer is highlighted, there should be an Edit Text button that appears in the bottom of the viewer. When you click on it, a separate text editor should open up, and you'll be able to edit the answers that way. The text for the answer can be edited in the same manner as the question. The audio for the quiz can be chopped up using the I and O keys, just as you've been doing for the rest of the informal audio track. The quiz music can also be found under Music, iLife Sound Effects, Jingles, Headspin, Long. This can be trimmed to fit the length of the quiz as needed. To finish out the rest of the newscast, continue to trim out the video and informal audio clips as needed. Bad jokes aside, at this stage, you will be making changes and more job-specific edits before this newscast gets pushed to the site. One such job-specific edit is the recently acquired Ripple Timelines found under Transitions. It functions similarly to Ripple Jumps and is edited similarly as well. That is, all changes can be made in the inspector window off to the right. I can change the layout of the timeline by clicking on the drop-down menu next to Layout. This effect also has a camera and director view, and the director view gives you more control over where the elements are placed. Additionally, I also have the option of changing the background color. If I scroll all the way towards the bottom of the inspector window, I can pick and choose which drop zones I want to be visible. Don't forget to change the view back to camera, or else this effect won't play while you're reviewing your work. Another fine-tune we make are the volume levels. The intro music clip needs to be -17 decibels, the quiz music needs to be -28 decibels, and the outro clip needs to be -20 decibels. The voice clips will depend on how much background noise the video clips have, so you will have to adjust each clip accordingly. Another edit is for the interview clips. We use the right effect, which is found under Titles, Lower Thirds. We want the one that is part of the Events theme. The text portion can be edited accordingly in the inspector off to the right. The location we're going to also needs a label. The one we use is called Soft Edge, which is under Titles, Build-in Out Effects. Still images usually will also need a label, and the one we use is called Gradient, which is under Titles, Lower Thirds. Both the edge and center styles are fine to use. Sometimes clips don't have a clean transition between each other, so you might have to add one or two to make the newscast flow more smoothly. A transition that we use fairly frequently is called cross dissolve, although any that fade out seamlessly are acceptable to use. Finally, the last component we need to add is the Google Fly-In. Jonathan is responsible for making the clip. To add it, go to Finder, News for Kids server, Time Capsule, Google Fly-Ins, and drag your clip into Final Cut Pro to replace the gap clip we inserted at the beginning of the project earlier. Congratulations! At this point, your newscast is in a state where it will be reviewed and further edited. Many of the things I showed you how to do are pretty intuitive, while others will take some time tinkering with. John and Jonathan will tell you what fixes need to be made, if any, before your newscast is published online.